So in terms of the running shoes, like you could have your top end racing shoes, your fast training shoes, stability shoes, and then other like niche products. Is there specific shoes that are more suited to specific terrains or types of runs that maybe you vary week to week? Is there, or is it something that you kind of pick and stick with something that works for you?
Yeah, definitely. There's sort of that max cushion category that I was talking about. There's a lot in that for, say recovery days. Your day after a workout or a session where your legs might be a little bit beaten up and you just want something a bit softer and a bit friendlier on your feet, or something that's going to give you a little bit more energy return. So there's definitely different shoes that you'll wear for different days, depending on sort of how you're structuring your training. And then at the moment, category that's sort of blowing up is the super trainer category, which is essentially those max cushion shoes, but with a brand's top end racing foam, or usually combined with two of their foams, and usually with a carbon plate. So they're sort of like these great big behemoth of shoes, but they've got a carbon plate,
Yeah.
and they're sort of it's a really interesting category because it's almost like a training version of a racing shoe. So that's pretty prolific at the moment, which is a really good training tool for people to use that are looking to run their first marathon, or even their 50th. I think they're really good training tools because they just allow the body to recover quicker, perform better, throughout that sort of arduous training process.
You seem really like you're really passionate about what you do with your running, and it's great that you've been able to align those passions through up there athletics and your own running. And but in the early days, you weren't really that passionate about running. You played some team sports at school, but running was never something that was on the cards. You hated going to the athletics carnivals when you were younger. And so what was it that kind of clicked, which I guess flicked the switch and you turned your, I guess, a lot of your pursuits towards long distance running?
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think the school athletics carnival was definitely a dreaded day for me. It was definitely try and take those ones off.
Sicky, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Swimming carnivals was good. We were pretty good swimmers, me and my sisters. So happily take those ones. Yeah, it was interesting. It was never on my radar. And my old dad actually ran a couple of marathons when he was sort of my age, or a bit younger. So I don't know, maybe there's something there. But it all sort of started. I was lucky enough to, in 2018, a family friend of ours was living in New York, and his mum, who was a really good family friend of ours, passed away after a long battle with blood cancer, multiple myeloma. And he's done an enormous amount of work in raising money for charity, for the foundation that they're involved with. And he, through that foundation, got offered a couple of spots to run New York Marathon. They open up a certain number of spots for charity runners, and it's a really good way. I mean, anyone out there that's trying to get into one of the major marathons in the world, a charity spot is a really good way to do it, without having to enter the ballot with 800,000 other people. There's a prerequisite of a minimum amount of money you need to raise, and once you raise that, your spot's locked in. So I was lucky enough to do that, and I mean, when he asked me about it, it was sort of one of those once in a lifetime situations. At that time, I'd never really thought about running a marathon, but I thought, tick that one off the bucket list,
Yeah.
and sort of
It
the one
really
and
raised the
done.
bar, right? It's like going to New York. You can't really say no. Like
Yeah,
going,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, exactly. It's like it's one of those things where people, someone might enter the ballot 10 years in a row and not get a spot. So couldn't really turn that one down. And then so sort of started training for that. I mean, the training, looking back on it now, wasn't anything flash. And it got there and got it done. And that was sort of the, I guess, the catalyst that sparked it. I got back from that, and to the best of my recollection, just sort of kept training and kept running, and signed up to a marathon the next year. And yeah, the ball just sort of kept rolling.